Welcome everyone to the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Congenital Heart Surgery Database monthly webinar. Today is Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026. Hope everyone had a nice, safe, happy, peaceful holiday. Welcome to the new year. Let's go ahead and get started for today. I do not have a lot of information today. Today's hopefully probably just going to be a brief webinar. I just have a couple of super brief STS updates, nothing new, and then we're going to turn things over to Leslie for our data manager education. Chastity is out on vacation this week, so it's just the Chastity and Leanne show today. So thanks everybody for joining. On the STS side, we've got Emily Conrad, Kate Barna, Paul Meehan, and Sydney Clinton. Of course, Leslie, our CHSD consultant, and then Dr. Meyer is joining us from our surgeon leadership today. So thank you, Dr. Meyer, for being on the call. All right, our super brief STS updates. The December training manual, if you go out, is the one that's currently posted. We did not have any new updates for January, so there will not be a January edition of the training manual. Our next version, our next update will be in February, so next month. So if you go out there, you'll see that the latest version refers to December, and our next edition will be posted in February. Also, just a reminder that those 2026 harvest dates are available on the STS website. Our current harvest that we're in right now, the spring 26 harvest, is scheduled to close on March the 27th. And then our fall 26 harvest is scheduled to close October the 9th. For my last super brief STS update, just a reminder that AQO 2026 will be in New Orleans. The official dates for AQO are September 30th through October the 2nd. Our CHSD session will be held September 30th and October the 1st. Wednesday, we'll have a full day of content for CHSD, and then Thursday, we'll have our breakout sessions in the morning from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So this year we are having a day and a half of content. So we hope you are able to join us for AQO this year. More information regarding pricing, all of that will be coming soon. More details. We'll start working on our agendas for this year's AQO here in the coming weeks. So we are starting that planning very, very soon. That actually is all that I have. Like I said, I just have super brief updates, and then I'm just going to turn things over to Leslie for our discussion topics today.
Awesome. Thanks, Leanne. Hi, everyone. Happy New Year. We just have a couple quick kind of more review-ish slides to get through today, and then we'll be on our merry little way. So first things, we'll talk about New Year, Say Me. This is coding best practices, things that we already know, but we want to revisit on what to get into the database, what's required, that kind of thing. Training manual updates, there have been a few clarifications over the last couple months, so we just want to run through some of those themes. We're getting questions kind of about the same type of thing, so we want to review that really quickly. Next slide. Next slide. Sorry, I put an extra one in there. So this is about New Year, Say Me. So just a review of what goes into the database. This came up from a few sites, actually. A couple that were audited this year had questions about which cases were required to be entered into CHSD, and we also talked about this briefly at AQO, so we wanted to do a quick reminder for everyone. The CHSD requires us to submit all cases regardless of op type. So if a surgeon who is on your Schedule A is involved in a case, that's a good clue that you should be looking to enter that into the database. There's more details on this in the training manual beginning on page 8 that gives a little bit more specifics about their role. But if your surgeon is on your Schedule A and writes an op note, you should be entering this case into CHSD. Next slide. We've also had some questions about which database the case should go into. Should your hospital participate in both CHSD and ACSD? There's also guidance about this in the training manual as well, but this is much more site specific currently. So for instance, at my hospital, one giant University of Michigan, Michigan Medicine, and then we have a children's hospital building and an adult cardiovascular building and another adult hospital as well, but it all falls under one U of M NPI. So we participate in both CHSD and ACSD, and often with our adult congenital patients, they end up in both databases. That is totally fine. They can be in one, the other, or both, depending on the circumstances, but it's being a new year, a good time to review with your team what your process is going to be if you do participate in both databases. If you're just a children's hospital freestanding and you only participate in CHSD, then obviously enter all your cases there. If you have questions, though, feel free to reach out on whatever specific case you might be wondering about. Next slide. So along with submitting every case, you should also be entering and filling out every field for every case. There's a little asterisk because, of course, we have exceptions in CHSD. We're all about exceptions. So one of those is for non-index adult cases. So adult congenital cases entered into CHSD that are not the index operation. You have the option to enter a limited data set. There's information about that as well in the training manual about which fields are still required. But that's one exception to the every field, every case rule. The other is for the field, just the one field, intra/postoperative events for non-index cases which come before your analyzed index operation. And that is because we don't want intra-postoperative events that occur prior to an index operation being associated with the index operation upon analysis. Again, there's lots of information on this in the intra and postoperative event section of the training manual. Next slide. Submit all cases regardless of inpatient status. So CHSD is a procedure-based database. It's by procedure or surgery date. It's not admission-based. It's not discharge-based. It is based on the date of surgery. So when you're submitting your cases for harvest, you're submitting all cases, even if they're still in the hospital. As most of us know, some vendors give us an option to not submit those cases that are still inpatient while you're going through your harvest process and cleanup. That's okay to do while you're kind of processing all those if you just kind of want to ignore that section or ignore that group of patients that you know might have some incomplete fields. But before the close of harvest, you are required to submit all cases, even if the patient is still in the hospital. And that's really important, especially when we look at audits, because part of your audit is a case log match. So if you've submitted 100 cases, but your case log says you should have 150, we're going to wonder what happened to those 50 cases. So just remember to submit all cases, regardless of inpatient status at the time of harvest. Next slide. And then, of course, just another plug to keep the training manual open for every case. Double check that you're getting the right field, right definition, and you're abstracting according to the coding instructions. Okay, next slide. Some updates to the training manual. We had a couple of main themes that came out of the last couple months of FAQs, one of which is op type. Op type is a difficult field, but it's one of the most important that you get right in the database. Number one, it defines our index operations. So a couple of the things that we already talked about with non-index cases. If you have if you have your op type incorrect, that means you could have your index operation incorrectly designated as well. So this is a very important field to get right. We know it's important, so we want to try to keep kind of revisiting it and providing as many examples as we can. Two of the additions to the training manual the last couple months included adding some examples for when we're operating on existing shunts, when the patient is on VAD or ECMO. We added some case examples. And then sympathetic denervations came up a couple times in our FAQs the last couple months. So we just included that as an example of a case that would be op-type thoracic. Next slide. Just some tips. If any part of your procedure is cardiac in nature, so meaning an operation on the heart, great vessels, or branches of the great vessels, then the op type should be cardiac. Of course, there's an exception to this as well, one of which being the example I just gave of shunt reoperations. Sometimes, rarely, we clip a shunt while we're going on ECMO, not rarely necessarily, but clip a shunt while you're going on ECMO to optimize flows. In those cases, it would be op type ECMO, even though it's a cardiac operation. So there are exceptions, but by and large, if any part of your procedure is cardiac, the op type should be cardiac as well. So CPV or no CPV cardiovascular. If you're using the procedure code cardiac procedure other, your op type should be cardiac. It shouldn't be cardiac procedure other, and then I'm putting it in as a thoracic case. That would be thoracic other or mediastinal other. So if you're using that code to describe something that was done that you just can't find a specific procedure for, or if you have some sort of mapping scheme that maps to cardiac procedure other, more than likely your op type should be cardiac. And then also use op type cleanup process in the analysis overview as a guide. I think I put a screenshot on the next slide, Leanne, if you don't mind. The op type cleanup process document goes through and shows us a list of procedures that will not be cardiac. So if any of these procedures are being done and there are not cardiac elements, these will, at least the ones shown here, more than likely fall into thoracic op types. And this is in the analysis overview document, starting on page 42. But otherwise, if it's a cardiac procedure, you should have a cardiac op type. If it's cardiac procedure other listed in there, that also should be a cardiac op type. Next slide. Okay, the other theme that we saw the last couple months were about post-operative events. Number one, this is true of the database in general, but specifically to post-op events, the field name itself is not inclusive. So just starting off the bat with post-op events includes some intraoperative events as well. So even if your data collection form or the part you're seeing in your vendor or just the title of the field in the training manual says whatever it is, post-op events, for instance, that doesn't mean that's all it's looking for. So again, this is why we always harp on keeping the training manual open. It's important to continue on, read the definition, and read the coding notes. Another example is unplanned cardiovascular catheterization procedures, also in the intra and post-operative events section, but that includes procedures which might not even use a catheter or might not be inherently cardiac in nature. So make sure to read through and see what it is including. This in particular includes IR procedures. So make sure you're reading through the definition and coding notes. Another one, unplanned cardiac procedures, includes bleeding on VAD and ECMO. In our previous version, bleeding was its kind of own event, and now it's included in unplanned cardiac. So again, back to our op type conversation, even if the op type is not cardiac, is not CPV or no CPV, it still could fall in that category. So if you're on ECMO and having a bleeding episode and we go in to explore for bleeding, that's still going to go under unplanned cardiac procedure. And then also just to keep in mind, the major morbidity events, the child fields must be completed. This is kind of early warning that a future iteration of Table 17 will be taking this into consideration. So if you check unplanned cardiac procedure, but you do not check which child, so if it's residual lesion, bleeding, or mediastinal explorations, the last one, if you haven't checked which child, it will automatically be included. So very important to make sure that you are picking the parent event and then the type of event or the child field as well. Next slide. Tips here, again, use the training manual. Make sure you have that open for every time you're looking at the event. Make sure it qualifies. Look for examples of what to code under the coding notes section in the training manual, and then review the FAQ summary document at least monthly. That kind of gives an overview of what was added to the training manual. We know that training manual is a beast. I think we're about 1,300 pages or just over now. So the FAQ summary document is really helpful in seeing what was updated. Next slide. And then just finally some submission tips about when you do send in an FAQ. Please make sure that you're submitting the question to the correct registry. So this is whatever registry you're entering data into, not necessarily based on patient age. So if you're working on an adult with congenital heart disease, but entering it into CHSD, make sure you submit that FAQ to the CHSD group. Some of those definitions are slightly different between the registries. Also, please review the training manual first. I know it is, like I said, over 1,300 pages or right around there. It is difficult sometimes to navigate, but try to take a look and see if your question fits in there. One, the more you use it, the easier it is to navigate. But two, then when you send your question over to us, it's a little bit more helpful if we know that you checked or looked for something and it wasn't quite clear. And that way we make sure that we're being consistent and updating as appropriate. And then also include all the information that you can with your submission. I know sometimes that seems like a lot, but we do have to go back and forth quite a bit to get some details. So if it's possible, kind of give us a general overview of the situation with your question so we have a little bit more context. Next slide. And then just a quick overview of how it works when you do submit an FAQ. That comes into the mailbox. Chastity and I review those weekly to kind of triage straightforward questions we can answer usually within that week, or we'll ask for additional information. I'm sorry. Next slide. Yes. Maybe I lost it. There we go. Sorry, Leanne.
Oh, you're fine.
Then, if we can't answer it or we need more information, then we have a monthly core group meeting, and this is what includes data managers as well as surgeons. We usually get to review 10 to 15 questions within the month, and then hopefully we'll offer you a response, but sometimes we need even more information, so we'll come back to you for that. And then next slide. And then there's also some that are a bigger picture question, or it's more of a process change, or should this code be included in this other section, things like that. Those questions we generally take to Dr. O'Brien monthly. If we can't get to a resolution through that conversation, it might be something that we either save for an upgrade review or take back to the workforce to kind of talk about like bigger picture, what happens if we change this, or should we. Oftentimes we ask for more information or kind of a quick data request through the research group to get more information from data that's been submitted. I think that's all I have for today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Leslie. So we do have some questions. I am happy to read through those. Again, just submit your question via the Q&A. You can also raise your hand and we're happy to unmute you so you can just ask your question as well. So we do have a few questions. Go ahead and take our first one from Melissa. We are a center that performs both adult and pediatric heart surgery. Some of our adult surgeons are on the CHSD Schedule A so that their surgeries for congenital problems can be reported. Previously, we've been told that we would not need to report all of their adult surgeries, only the congenital surgeries. Is this still accurate? Dr. Subramanian educated on this in February of 2023.
Yep, that's still accurate. If it's adult only or acquired adult heart disease, that does not need to go in the congenital database. Even as you said, if the adult surgeon is on your Schedule A, that's how mine works as well. The most important part about that is that you're consistent for all of your cases. So if that's your rule, like adult acquired doesn't go in, adult congenital does, great. We suggest that you just document your process and that's perfect. Great example.
Next from Sarah, would it be possible to send out an email when the training manual is updated on a consistent basis so that I don't have to keep logging in and checking Thanks for the Jan update on the call. Um, I mm, we would have to work with our marketing team, and we kind of try to be cognizant of the amount of emails that we have going out. I will say that the congenital training manual is consistently updated and posted the first week of the month. Chastity is very good about getting me the updates prior to the first, if not, right on the first. So I would say, definitely just plan on checking the website the first week. If you want to wait till that Friday, it's definitely posted by by that Friday of the first week, if not before then. But getting to send out the monthly emails, I mean, we could discuss it internally, but our marketing does try to limit the number of emails we have going out each month. Um, but we can discuss it internally. Sarah, happy to do that. Um, Leslie, if a surgeon places temporary pacing wire as the only procedure, should this be entered as no CPB and pacemaker procedure, or should this be thoracic?
Good question. It's no CPB and pacemaker procedure.
Excellent. Yep. And a question from Jen, is VAD with CPB an index operation if it is done prior to an op type 1 or 2?
VAD with CPB is not an index operation. It's not eligible to become an index operation. So that's an example, like if it's VAD with CPB as your first operation and then later have a heart transplant. The transplant is the index operation. So you will not want to enter intra or postoperative events on the VAD with CPB. You can still enter the VAD complications section, but don't enter the intra postoperative events.
Okay. Great question. Brooke, I know you had your hand up. I didn't know if you had a question, but you should be able to unmute if you do have a question. Hi, Brooke. Oh, you put your
Hey,
hand.
hey, sorry, that was an accident.
Oh,
My
that's
my
okay.
apologies.
No, no worries. It's good to hear your voice.
All right, thanks.
All right. All right. While we're waiting to see if any additional questions come in, our upcoming monthly webinars, our next webinar for February, I can't believe we're already talking about February, is the 17th at 12 Central, and then our March webinars on March the 17th at 12 Central. So mark your calendars accordingly. Any other questions from anyone? Any other questions? Is there anything Paul or help desk team wanted to add or anyone? All right.
No, I didn't have anything.
Okay. All right. Contact information. Again, here's my contact info. Our tech support email. And then also, if you have questions regarding any of your participation fees, payments, contracts, anything like that, please email stsdb@sts.org. Just if you have questions regarding payments or things like that. Amy has a question, but she says she's happy to submit as an FAQ, but thought she would ask here since it seems like there's time. Yes. So for patients with TOF, absent pulmonary valve that undergo complete repair, I know we are not to include the components of the TET if they are inherent in the definition, but my surgeon just did a case where she did a transannular patch instead of an RV to PA conduit. Is it okay to list this in addition to the TET absent PV repair? She wants to be able to track.
Good question. I think it's probably best to send Amy like a snippet of the op note. I don't think we would want to change like the type of TOF repair you would enter it as, but if you can send me a snippet of the op note and that question, then we'll review and get back to you.
Perfect. Thanks, Amy. All right, she said she will do, and thank you. All right. Well, like I said, today was going to be a short call, but we just wanted to touch base and just do a quick review, and hope everyone has a great rest of your week. And we will see you all next month on the 17th for our next congenital monthly webinar. Thank you, Dr. Meyer, for joining, and STS team, and Leslie, thank you for your education today. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks everyone. Have a great rest of your day.